I chose to go 100% in. And I believe that no matter how much we put in, that's actually how much we're going to get out of. We have to choose who we want to be vulnerable with.
In today's world, we have so much of wounds and scar inside us, right? You know, when we have scars and wounds inside us, we really don't feel that motivation to. So, welcome everyone. So, this is another exciting episode, number 2, where we are talking about real life, how actually we can flourish in our life. I want to bring the real stories who has really worked significantly on his own life and then impacted many others around her or him. So as such a guest today we have, please help me to welcome Cynthia. Welcome to this real life talk, flourishing talk show.
Thank you, Coach Kamrul.
It's my pleasure. Actually, you're working as a life coach, facilitator, and also as a director of sales and market development for Certified Flourishing Coaching for the last many years, 4 or 5 years. Could you talk about your journey, where you have started and how actually you have came to this line, coaching, speaking, training, and transforming others' life? How did you begin?
Well, great question. It's interesting when I take a look at everything in hindsight, because I never thought I would be a coach, never thought I would be a public speaker. I grew up more in the retail industry, from gift wrapping during the Christmas season, all the way to helping clients at a healthcare practitioner office, and all the way to a farmer's market. And that's where I learned how to really connect with people, learn about sales, and the techniques. Really, it's nothing that's tricky. It's just more about creating relationships. And I raised both, actually I didn't raise both kids during the farmer's market days, yet I was pregnant during those days. And after that, after having kids, I was like, I gotta move on to something different. And as I did that, the path just led me to A. Brown, our founder of Certified Flourishing Coaching. And we worked together in a fundraiser and realized we worked really well together. And he had a vision to help platform people, to help utilize their gifts, talents, and abilities. And when we found out we worked well together, and no joke, April 1st of 2025, we'll be working together for 6 years now. And it's been such a pleasure and such an honor, because we get to help people and really not focusing on what's wrong with them, except what's strong with them, what is right, where are their strengths. And being a part of business development, sales, outreach, and facilitation, it's been such a blessing, because we can actually help people from all walks of life.
It's an inner call, right? You felt, right, sometime in this journey. So how this training program, like Flourishing Coaching Program, Flourishing Life Coach Certification Program, helped you particularly? Oh, no, there are many tools that we teach, right, into this journey. Could you bring any such thing for the audience or the viewers so that they could relate to their journey?
Yeah, so when I started working with Abe, it was a journey before we got to flourishing and to create this community for so many of us. Yet the pivotal moment for me was during the life coach training, the Certified Flourishing Life Coach training. And I love that there was a whole bunch of information that's neuroscience-based and it's evidence approached and science of flourishing, all that. Yet when I got a chance to dive into the tools, the experiential learning, that's where the transformation happened for me. Realizing that there's so many things that I haven't healed from yet, that I haven't arrived yet at, of the full process of being able to let go of what happened in the past and to move forward. Yet it gave me an insight of not focusing on what happened, yet what's possible. And I love that with what I learned in life coach training. I sat in the class over 6 times. Not saying you have to take the class 6 times to create impact. Yet it's because as I worked through life, we're always evolving. And every time I sat in the class, I would receive something new. Not that the facilitator said anything different. It's just because I received and something stood out to me different. And so the experiential learning is a really excavating process to take a look at, hey, what's going on the inside and how do I want to move forward? And everything is by choice. So for me, I chose to play full out. I chose to go 100% in. And I believe that no matter how much we put in, that's actually how much we're going to get out of anything. So anybody who takes the training, they're going to be able to receive value. And I don't know what someone might receive. They might receive the insight of, hey, they can be a coach, or maybe they're like, hey, I wanna coach in these areas, or maybe they want to be a public speaker. Right? There's so many possibilities out there.
You said a very important word that I picked from this conversation as of now: excavate. Usually it's a machine that construction firms use it when they're actually constructing a road, or they actually dig the road, right, or culvert, or some places, and brings the mud out of that place and pulls it to somewhere else, excavating. So how actually this life coach helps people to excavate from within, not from outside, because inside we have so many things that's really holding us back. And how did it excavate, in real life experience? Could you bring any such thing on for an example, okay, breaking through fear, breaking through, taking actions? What actually happened within you?
Well, great question, because I've been in the personal development industry for over 13 years, even before flourishing. And during the process of the life coach training, it's a very gentle process. We think again of machinery and construction sites where you're excavating. There's the sharp claws that are clawing out the dirt and then rebuilding. Yet this process with flourishing, it's such a gentle self-discovery process. One of the tools, I'm going to kind of give a little sneak peek here. We have a tool called the Life Compass. And it's really interesting because it talks about what was in the past, what doors open, what doors closed, and then what are some possibilities that we are wanting, the vision we have for the rest of our life. And it was a really cool process for me because it wasn't like really smack dab in my face. It was a gentle self-discovery. And I truly believe that we all have answers inside of us. We don't need someone to tell us what we need to do or what's possible for us. A lot of times is us just releasing things that don't serve us anymore. It could be mindsets, it could be negative self-talk, it could be relationships, right, that don't serve us anymore. And after these classes, it's like for myself and others I've heard from so many times is that I've realized I need to let go of this in order to build the new, because the baggage that we all carry, it gets heavy. Right? So when we excavate from a gentle process, we can then make a conscious choice to say, I don't need this anymore. It served me well maybe years ago. And now I have new opportunities, new friends, new relationships that can help me get to where I want to be.
Fantastic. In the machine that excavates, we see there is a big claws and there is a tiny little person sitting on top of the machine, right? Is really very, very tiny, and he's operating the wheel and making it front, left, and right. So do you think that this coach is kind of sitting onto that machine and operating that, right? That's a coach. And the excavator itself is a flourishing certification program, the tools, techniques, methods, and process, right, which the program offers to use for the coaches, right?
The coach is the person who has the tools, like the excavating machine, yet the ground that we work in has to be ready. Again, as a coach, we're not going in and saying, hey, we're going to B&E, break an entry, go places that a client doesn't want to go. The ground, as the client, needs to be ready and open and willing, right? So, for example, if a client is in a winter season and the ground is still frozen, we're not going to go in and say, hey, let's go work on this area of your life. That ground has to be thawed, has to be ready in order for us to work. And I think that's the beauty of a coaching relationship, that it's not by force, it's always by choice from the client.
So that is being ready, being coachable, right? And being prepared or kind of open-minded. Yes, I'm ready to see the next journey or next destination or next goal in my life, right? Yeah. That willingness is really important.
Absolutely. And then also the openness to be able to step into the unknown a little bit, to stretch. right? And we cannot grow if we're always in our comfort zone. Some of us may have seen that diagram of a comfort zone, and then you get bigger and there's possibilities. Yet if we're stuck in that place, like you mentioned, if someone's not coachable and they're not wanting to be uncomfortable and they don't want to stretch, then coaching is not for them, right?
So there is another thing we often see, that being vulnerable. In this world, people says, "Oh, okay, how can I show I'm vulnerable? I'm tough. I'm really, really, very smart. I don't want to show people or tell the world, my vulnerability." How the coaching could help actually being vulnerable. Is it good or bad? And how it actually works into the industry or into this session itself?
I'd say choose who you want to be vulnerable in front of. We have to choose who we want to be vulnerable with, because absolutely there's going to be people who don't have the best intentions for us, and if we're vulnerable to the wrong people, it's so easy for people to attempt to tear us down, right? So having a coach, a flourishing life coach, what I love about our community is that we actually take it very seriously about creating safety and building trust. We create safety so that we can build trust. If a client and a coach doesn't have trust, and if I don't feel safe with a coach, I'm not going to be 100% me. And if I don't bring 100% me to the coaching session, then nothing positive is ever going to change. There's going to be no positive change, no long-term sustainable transformation. There'll be short-term successes, yet it's not going to last. And so when it comes to being vulnerable, it's also then making the conscious choice of what do I want to share, right? I could be totally vulnerable with, for example, Abe, who's my coach and mentor and pastor and great friend, yet I'm not going to go on social media and be vulnerable to everybody. I can choose what I want to be vulnerable about, yet also share my solutions when it comes to the public eye. And so I think that's very important in a relationship, is that safety and trust.
Because in today's world, we have so much of wounds and scar inside us, right? That really hurting us. When we have scars and wounds inside us, we really don't feel that motivation to jump towards. So now having a coach, flourishing coach, and then to talk about my wounds and vulnerability with the coach, with the trust, will it help?
Well, it's like having a wise sage or an elder to walk through a path of possibilities, right? So for example, when I'm coaching a client and they're going through a phase of dealing with wounds that might either be fresh or maybe they've been there for a while, the wound has been there for a while, I always ask permission. Right? Are you open to some feedback? And I've created a lot of safety with a lot of clients where there's certain ones I could be totally blunt with. Like, look, this is what I'm seeing and it's totally not serving you. What are some options you have now in order to break through that? Yet then there's some clients where it's a more of a softer approach where I cannot be blunt, right? So being a coach, it's figuring out that ebb and flow with a client, yet learning those vulnerabilities and be able to share with people as you're walking through the journey is important. Yet more importantly, for me, if I'm going to share something that happened to me, I always want to make sure I've pretty much almost come out the other side before I share it publicly. So for example, my health journey, it's been interesting. I've been struggling with a lot of pain, yet I haven't shared that with a lot of people until actually today with our church, we have a Facebook chat and I was able to share, hey, I've been going through this, been going through some pain, yet these are some solutions that came up. And now yesterday, I was able to get dressed without feeling excruciating pain. So people don't always just want to hear about what you're going through and your problems, yet they're more open to being inspired if you share, this is what I was feeling, this is what I went through, and this is where I am now. That overcoming, right? The overcoming is a very great story to share to inspire people to keep moving forward.
So that means actually, sharing this inner wounds and, whatever impacted inside us, with a coach who can build the trust, can really help to transform and to take the next action. Being clearing up the luggage inside, right?
Yeah.
So here comes the thing. A lot of people think that I don't want to be a coach. Why do I need to take this program, for an example, Flourishing Life Coach certification? I'm simply working. I'm simply, an entrepreneur. I'm busy with my life. I don't have intention to become a coach. I'm okay where I am. Do you think this coaching program could certainly help each of them?
For sure. And so whether it's taking just the life coach training or our full flourishing coaching program, it's so important because if you are around people, you need training,
Okay.
right? People are going to come to us with problems, whether we're at the coffee pot, maybe we're at work and we're about to pour a coffee and someone says, I just had an argument with my wife last night. What do I say?
How do I deal with it?
Yeah. Do I just say, oh, I'm so sorry to hear, wish you the best of luck, and then walk away, right? Or do we tap into some of the tools that we can learn from our training and come from a place of empathy, right? Some of the things we talk about of how to create safety and build trust is by listening. So how do we not just hear someone's problem? How do we fully listen and provide that space for someone to share and fully say, hey, I may not understand what you're exactly walking through right now. So I want you to know that I'm here for you, right? And I'm so sorry to hear you're experiencing that. How can I help, right? So it's like two total different ways of responding to someone. And that's the beauty of, getting a coach or going through our trainings, because you have then the tools to be able to personally work with people. And for solopreneurs, entrepreneurs, when you're working your business, it becomes lonely, right?
It's a lonely journey.
It is. It is. And when you have a community like our Flourishing Coaching Program and Business Coaching Program members, you get to build together. We're not all solving the same problems, except we are all going through and we're going towards the same vision, which is empowering people and strengthening people through the science of flourishing.
Okay, great. So the last thing that we could talk about, in this current world, there are so many programs out there, right? Almost in every country, in East, West, wherever we think, there are offerings, there are programs, so many big names, so many institutions. So we know that, coaching is evolving. So where actually flourishing coming from? Is it the evidence-based? Is it psychology-based, human-based, emotion-based, or really a personality-based? I know that, I have been through many coaching training programs. Every program has its own, pros and cons, right? Own attributes. In your eyes, what do you think that flourishing is actually based out of? What's that really factor that can really, our audience can have it?
Yeah, great question. And I agree with you. There's so many great coaching programs and institutes and different communities out there. I've been a part of some of them too, right? And I know you're a John Maxwell leadership coach as well. And same with another of our members. Yet for me, what I love about flourishing is having Dr. Wayne Hammond as our senior advisor, right? He's a clinical psychologist that was helping people. He still is in that arena of, helping folks in different nations, different industries. Yet taking a look at how he's able to share his 10 core competencies. So also there's a lot of assessments out there, a lot of personality assessments, strength-based assessments. Yet Dr. Wayne had come up with these 10 core competencies to take a look at human flourishing. Why would two siblings grow up in the same environment, same household, maybe have different pathways when they grow up? Maybe they grew up with the same type of trauma, yet one is really flourishing and going for life, and one might end up in a place of maybe destruction and self-sabotage and all those things. And what Dr. Wayne does with his FLQ, which is only accessible through us and our partnership with Dr. Wayne, is to be able to go through an assessment called the Flourishing Life Questionnaire and find out what our top 2 strengths are and 3 areas to explore. Because that's the difference. a lot of coaching models out there are taking a look at what's wrong, let's fix it. What's wrong, let's fix it. The problem with that is that when we're always fixing things, we don't empower the client to be able to build resilience and to be able to work through the tough stuff. And then guess what? We're going to have the same coaching client for 10, 15 years, and they're going through the same stuff over and over again. It's a vicious cycle. Versus when we can tap into what they're great at and use that as a launching pad, then you know what? We coach with them for a short period of time and they're off. They know how to deal with the tough stuff when it comes. They've built that resilience and they just come back for a little tune-up now and again. Like that's what sets us apart. And also the community, right? The community. We don't just put you through a training and say, hey, good luck, throw you against the wall and see if you stick. We're in the backyard of your home. Like we are accessible. We are here. And just because you've graduated from, let's say, a bunch of our courses, it's not like, oh, okay, you got to pay to connect with us. We're here. We're like, you can talk to us anytime.